minutes.
Been moved in second. May I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Sparza?
Yes.
Commissioner Moreno?
Have to abstain.
Vice Chair Weisenberger?
Yes.
And Chair Timmons?
Thank you. Okay. Any public comment?
We have received 5 comments by email, and we have 2 comment cards submitted from people who would wish to speak, and I believe, let me just double check. Yes, all are for related to item number 5. So if you'd like to address those at item number 5 this evening.
Okay. So we will hear those comments at that time? Thank you. Okay, under new business, public hearings, item number 2, conditional use permit number 988. 988 is a request by Enrique Alvarez, Alvarez Design Studios, for Tacos El Fogon to extend customer seating at an existing restaurant to an outdoor seating area at 7351 Rosecrans Avenue, Unit F, in the C3 General Commercial Zone. This project is a Class 1 existing facilities categorical exemption pursuant to Article 19, Section 15301 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. Can I have a staff report, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair Timmons. So this is the property at the multi-tenant property, commercial property, at the northwest corner of Garfield Avenue and Rosecrans Avenue. There are a number of tenants, and this application before you is one of the tenants. It's a restaurant called El Fogon, or Tacos El Fogon. They've been in operation since 2014, and they picked up on the suite after the previous restaurant, which was Picoso Grill, closed. And Picoso Grill applied for the conditional use permit in 2010, so it carried over to this restaurant, and it allowed for, actually they applied for beer and wine and customer seats. The beer and wine never went through, so this restaurant also does not serve beer and wine, but they are in business, and they're here to kind of expand their seating, and Associate Planner Leslie Corrales will give the presentation.
Thank you.
Excuse me, John.
Excuse me. That's right. I'm sorry. So due to an absence, I'm going to be giving the presentation. Thank you. Got so excited about it. So, and it's a request from the designer who actually worked on the plans for the project, and that's Enrique Alvarez. The applicant is here in the audience if you have any questions for the applicant. So this is to legalize additional indoor seating within the restaurant, as well as installing additional seating on the outside, and with a retractable shade to give some coverage to the patrons. Again, 7351 Rosecrans, Unit F. It's in the C3 General Commercial Zone. The property is 39,843 square feet, and the suite is 1,038 square feet. And here's the property. It's outlined in this kind of pinkish, purpley color. And there are 2 buildings, as you know, on the property. At the corner are 2 suites. There's a flower shop. There's an insurance shop. And in the back, there are about 4 or 5 other tenants. The largest suite is for this particular restaurant. So it's the end cap facing Garfield Avenue. Here's the site plan, so you can see it in a little more detail in plan form. And the suite is, again, highlighted here. And again, on the end. Parking, we always look at the parking. There are a total of 57 spaces in the property. And that includes 37 standard size stalls, 17 compact size spaces, and 3 Americans with Disability Act compliant parking spaces. There's extra parking, and part of the reason is there's actually a vacant portion on the southwest, that originally was intended for a Starbucks, believe it or not. That never happened, and then the owner had a concept for a building with 3 suites, and that also did not happen. So there's sufficient, so with that, there's a surplus of parking by our code regulations. Here's a floor plan, so you can kind of see the inside of the restaurant. There's the kind of the back end, the kitchen, and the serving area, and some restrooms in the back. And then you can see on the front where there are a number of seats, and there are 22 seats. And that's up from what was approved, the 14, so that would be an additional 8 seats on the inside. And then you can see on the outside, well, there's the figures right here. 24 seats are proposed for the outside. And a look at how it would be from the public view. I mentioned there's a retractable awning, so you can see how it kind of protrudes out about 14 and a half feet, more or less. So it could extend, halfway, all the way, or retract completely. And there's going to be a nice railing, a wire railing, and here's a photo of what it could look like. The use meets what we're looking for a commercial zone. The site's adequate in size, and there's sufficient access and circulation, and I mentioned the parking, enough parking. So with that, staff recommends approval, recommending that you adopt resolution number PC 26023, approving CUP number 988, subject to the conditions of approval in the resolution. I'm happy to answer any questions. My apologies to Leslie for throwing a curveball there.
I have one quick question. You were talking about the parking and the railing. Is that railing sufficient enough for like preventive measures, or it's like safety for like if someone's parking?
That's the idea. So right now, there is outdoor seating presently. This is to legalize the seating, so our thought was to add a little more. There's and there's a planter as well, so there's a little bit of buffer with the planter. And so that is the idea, to have a little more protection.
Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners? Okay, being no questions, I'll open the public hearing. Do we have any testimony in favor or opposed?
No, we don't. As mentioned, the applicant is in the audience.
Did the applicant want to speak?
Applicant here?
Would you state your name, please? There's a little button there on the top. Would you push that button? There you go.
Okay. Well, yes. We read all the conditions of
Sorry,
approval.
sir, would you state your name?
Enrique Alvarez with Alvarez Design Studios, 10927 Suite D, City of Downey.
Thank you, Mr. Alvarez.
One comment, yes, we accept the conditions of approval, and the sign will be changed to meet the requirements. So they'll be the same as the rest of the signs in the building.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Mm.
May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Move to close, Weisenberger?
I'll second it.
It's been moved in second. May I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Sparza?
Yes.
Commissioner Moreno?
Yes.
Vice Chair Weisenberger?
Yes.
Chair Timmons?
Yes. Okay, I'd like a motion to adopt Planning Commission Resolution number 26023, a request by Enrique Alvarez, Alvarez Design Studios, Batacos El Fogan, to legalize additional indoor seating and extend customer seating at an existing restaurant to an outdoor seating area at 7351 Rosecrans Avenue, Unit F in the C3 General Commercial Zone.
Motion to adopt.
I'll second it.
It's been moved in second. May I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Sparza?
Yes.
Commissioner Moreno?
Yes.
Vice Chair Weisenberger?
Yes.
Chair Timmons?
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to item number 3, conditional use permit number 1002, a request by Procast Industries to install and operate a bag house dust collection system for an existing precision metal castings business at 15555 Minnesota Avenue in the M2 Heavy Manufacturing Zone. This project is Class 3, new construction or conversion of a small structure. Categorical exemption pursuant to Article 19, Section 15303 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. May I have a staff report, please?
Yes. So this business has been at this location since 2010. They were, just to be blunt, they were part of an investigation in the community when hexavalent chromium readings were slightly elevated in the fall of last year. It was this business and a second business. And these businesses have been working to comply with the South Coast Air Quality Management District and the city. So the city's been very cooperative. This business has been very cooperative since those notices of violations were notices of a violation were issued. So with this this application, this will get them across the finish line into compliance. So a little more. Here's a photo looking at the site. It's at the northwest corner of Minnesota and Madison, kind of in the central industrial district. And the application, again, is to install and operate a bag house and dust collection system for the business. And what they do do metal work. They're a metal manufacturing or metal processing company. They're an existing precision metal castings business. The building is 9,000 square feet. You can see where it is in town, kind of the south central part of town. I mentioned central industrial district. And you can see on the right here, the site plan. Here's Minnesota and Madison. The property is outlined in red. The building is outlined in a darker color. And you can see on the inside where the manufacturing takes place, foundry, finishing, there's offices in the front. The proposed dust collector would be exterior, and that would be on the rear. And we'll show a photo in a moment. It's almost a 15,000 square foot site. They employ about 16 people, and they operate Monday to Friday. And for the manufacturing portion, that's 5 a.m. to 1:30. For the administrative support, that's 8 a.m. to, I'm sorry, for manufacturing, it's 5 a.m. to 1:30, and administrative support, it's 8 a.m. to 4:30. And a little bit of background. In 2018, I mentioned hexavalent chromium. And that goes back to 2016. 2016, there was a highly elevated, I should say, a really high level of hexavalent chromium. So the city and the AQMD, the South Coast Air Quality Management District, worked together to get those numbers down, and that was through enforcement, legal channels, and through the city through installing control equipment to capture those emissions before they enter the air. And as part of that, we changed our regulations in 2018 with ordinance number 1106 that revised manufacturing regulations in our code, in our local zoning ordinance. And that's in our code in section 17.36050 and 060 for this zone. Part of that is a requirement for metal manufacturing businesses that have permits from the South Coast Air Quality Management District to obtain what's called an administrative action permit, which is our local permit here in town. This applicant, Procast, they completed that requirement in 2020. They fulfilled it with a completed application, and the number is administrative action number 1970. And that included like an inventory of their processes, their materials, and the air emissions that were to be captured by the control equipment. And what I hinted at earlier is following a series of slightly elevated readings late last year, there was an investigation from the South Coast Air Quality Management District, and as a result, they determined that Procast was one of two businesses contributing to the readings. Notices of violation were issued in October by South Coast Air Quality Management District, and the city followed later in that month with our own notice of violation. So they've been working to address the violations, and one of the remedies is the installation of this bag house and dust collection system. So you'll see a photo, what it would look like, what it does look like. They actually have it on site. It's kind of ready to be installed. The AQMD issued a permit to construct in June, so it's ready to go with the city's authorization. And then we're going through the plans, the plan review, and once they're approved, inspections and a final inspection would follow. And it's a Donaldson turret model, and you can see the dimensions here: 110 inches in height, 48 inches in width, and 75 inches in depth. This is the back of the building, so this is facing an alley, and the equipment would be installed more or less in this location. There are some conditions of approval to improve the appearance of not only the yard, but the building itself. So the applicant is actually starting to work on refurbishing the outside of the building, and they'll be removing this cover here. And I'm gonna back it up. So this is the appropriate manufacturing zone, and the conditions of approval from Administrative Action Number 1970, they still apply, along with the new conditions of approval that we are recommending. There are a total of 45 conditions of approval for this application. The applicant is aware of these conditions, and they have not spoken of any opposition. Some highlights of what those conditions are. The equipment itself, this approval would allow for an air pollution control system, which is the dust collector and exhaust system. It's venting one metal melting furnace that's highly specified by the South Coast Air Quality Management District and their permit that was granted in June. And there's a number of rules that they'll have to follow. You can see them listed here. These are AQMD rules. So there's Rule 203, permit to operate; 212, standards for approving; 217, provision for sampling and testing facilities; 222, filing requirements for specific emission sources not requiring a written permit pursuant to Regulation 2; 301, permitting and associated fees; 401, visible emissions; 402, nuisance. You might recognize 402. That's in most of our conditional use permit conditions of approval. Fugitive dust, particulate emissions, particulate matter control devices, and control of toxic air contaminant emissions from chromium alloy melting operations. This is all very important, and the applicant has expressed they will comply. So a little bit of best practices, a little bit of housekeeping, and some equipment involved. And as you know, so our conditions are intended to improve the health of the workers, the residents, the community at large, but also we look for aesthetics, the appearance. So there are conditions to upgrade the landscaping and irrigation, and I mentioned upgrading the building exterior. So that will be happening before the project can be signed off or final. All of those would have to be complete. So with that, we are recommending approval. We're recommending that you adopt Resolution PC 26022, approving CUP number 1002, subject to these 45 conditions of approval. And the applicant is here in the audience if you have any questions for the applicant. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the commissioners?
Is there any timeline for this to be up and running?
We did not have it implemented, but they are ready to go. They're actually waiting for this approval so they could, so the plans can be formally approved. So they actually need to go. Their timeline is more so on the AQMD side.
Oh, the AQMD.
AQMD.
I do have one question. I know that AQMD is monitoring this business. They've had several NOVs, so I'm hoping that with this new dust collector or cover that they have, that they're going to be rigidly monitoring. Just because I think the concern now is everybody's concerned about dust and things pollen in the air or whatever else. So.
Yes, and as you're aware, the mayor, Mayor Olmos is on the board now, and we find that that's an opportunity. So there's been excellent communication, even better communication that we've had between our agencies. And we've been telling them, come back out. There has, you know, there've been some high-profile incidents lately, the warehouse in Boyle Heights, the incident in Garden Grove. That's kind of, you know, they've been moving their personnel around, but we expect them to dedicate more resources to Paramount very soon.
Thank you. Okay. No other questions?
Nope, not me.
Okay. Do we have any testimony in favor or opposed?
We do not.
Do we have a rebuttal by the applicant, or
Is the applicant in the,
is he in the audience? Would you like to hear that?
She is.
Would you like to say something tonight? Good evening. Would you state your name, please?
Yes, good evening. Sylvia Romero. And I work at Procast Industries, City of Paramount. Since the NOVs were received, the first visit happened in September 2025. We received the NOVs in September, late September. We started to work on the NOVs right away. We completed, I would say, 90% of them within 30 days. We implemented housekeeping. We seriously follow every NOV and basically completed. But the only one that has been quite of a stretch to complete has been the implementation of the baghouse to control the dust. We have the baghouse or the equipment in house, and we have everyone aligned. As soon as we get the permit, we can move forward to complete this last action. This week, we received the approval from the fire department, so we're basically just waiting on the approval to proceed with the construction.
Thank you. Thank you for complying. Okay, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
make a motion to close the public hearing?
Weisenberger seconds.
Moved in second, may I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Sparza,
Yes.
Commissioner Moreno,
Yes.
Vice Chair Weisenberger,
Yes.
Chair Timmons.
Yes. Okay, so now I need a motion to adopt Planning Commission Resolution Number PC 26022, a request by Procast Industries to install and operate a baghouse dust collection system for an existing precision metal casting business at 15555 Minnesota Avenue in the M2 Heavy Manufacturing Zone.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the Planning Commission Resolution number PC 26022.
Thank you. It's been moved in second. May I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Sparza,
Yes.
Commissioner Moreno,
Yes.
Vice Chair Weisenberger,
Yes.
Chair Timmons.
Yes. So we're at item number 4. Okay, item number 4, request by Natalie Luna and Edgar Cervantes Ennis by Luna to operate an indoor recreation facility for softball at 14018 Garfield Avenue in the M2 Heavy Manufacturing Zone. This project is a Class 1 existing facilities categorical exemption pursuant to Article 19, Section 15301 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. May I have staff report, please?
Yes, several years ago, the city council adopted an ordinance kind of changing the rules to allow for indoor recreation businesses inside the M2 heavy manufacturing and M1 light manufacturing zones. There have been kind of a change. You hear more about businesses that have like jumpers, you know, you could jump inside, and you could have badminton. I guess those have been around for quite a while, but there was kind of a gap in our code, so it was a really good opportunity for some entrepreneurs to fill that gap. So we have one of these applications, and planning intern Caitlin Ah will give the presentation.
Good evening, Honorable Chair and members of the Planning Commission. The item before you is conditional use permit number 1003. This is a request by Natalie Luna and Edgar Cervantes for Ennis by Luna to allow the operation of an indoor recreation facility for softball at 14018 Garfield Avenue. Now, this is the address of the project suite, but the site that the suite is located in is at 14026 Garfield Avenue in the M2 or heavy manufacturing zone. This is also known as Garfield Industrial Park, and this site sits on the west side of Garfield Avenue between Pedersen Lane and Quimby Avenue, just south of a Los Angeles Department of Water and Power right-of-way. The site that the project suite rests on is 47,480 square feet, with the building that is located in being 15,707 square feet, with the project suite itself being 2,802 square feet. The picture on the right here is the Garfield Industrial Park from the west point of view across Garfield Avenue. Here we have the site plan. So the lot is actually developed with two buildings. The building on the north side, measuring 15,707 square feet, is divided into 5 suites, housing businesses such as Express Trimming and Cutting, a fabric company, JB Bike Storage, Speed Precision, John Douglas Interior House Storage, and the proposed suite for Ennis by Luna. And on the south side of the property is another building measuring 7,053 square feet that's currently occupied by one tenant, Pacific Molding Supply. So the applicant proposes to utilize a warehouse suite for private softball training services, specializing in infield lessons for youth athletes. This suite would be used solely for athletic instruction and training activities, with all operations taking place indoors within designated training areas. They propose one-on-one and small group lessons with no more than 6 youths per hour-long session. And their proposed business hours, there's actually a revision to this from the report that was originally released. Their original business hours were going to be Mondays through Thursdays from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., but to accommodate for the youths in training and their schedules, the applicants are now proposing to open from Mondays through Fridays from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., as well as Saturdays and Sundays from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Now, these lessons would be provided by appointment only, and their proposed operating hours are generally outside of the regular business hours for the other tenants on the property, which would help reduce conflicts with parking demand with the other tenants. Here we have an aerial view of the property with the property line noted in yellow there, the north side building there in pink with the project suite noted in blue. The project site does provide a total of 26 parking stalls, including 4 parallel stalls, 5 compact stalls, and 17 standard stalls. Vehicular access to the property is provided along Garfield Avenue on the left there, and all tenants do have access to all 26 parking spaces at all hours. For the floor plan here, it's largely an open space, but there was an existing 225 square foot office space noted there in purple, as well as a 33 square foot unisex restroom noted in yellow. They're proposing a fielding area measuring 1,806 square feet, as well as a 300 square foot hitting area, both noted there in green. That would have artificial turf flooring, and both practice areas would be surrounded by a 10-foot high net for both the safety of the trainees, as well as to minimize noise generated by training activities for the surrounding tenants and neighbors. Here we have some site photos. In the top left there is another view of the Garfield Industrial Park from across Garfield Avenue on the west side of the property. And the top right photo there is the exterior of the project suite. You can see their door as well as a few of the parking spaces there that were recently repainted. And on the bottom left there, we have the existing office suite as well as the restroom. And then the two photos in the bottom middle as well as on the bottom right show the open space that would be floored with artificial turf for the practice areas. So this proposed business is located in an appropriate manufacturing zone and is compatible with the surrounding businesses, with the location being adequate in size and sufficient parking will be provided and maintained. A few of the conditions of approval for this project would be to have the existing window security bars for the project suite to be removed or relocated to the building interior prior to obtaining final written approval from the planning division, as well as the existing window bars for the suites at the front of the building facing Garfield Avenue to be removed or relocated to the building interior by August 5th, 2027, or next year. The landscaping and irrigation system shall meet all code requirements and the landscape requirements from our Paramount Municipal Code. And specifically, the landscaping in the front planters shall be refurbished following planning and building department review and approval of the precise plant types, sizes, and locations. The refurbishment of the landscaping and irrigation shall be completed by December 1st of this year. Also, at least one bicycle rack shall be provided and maintained in good condition within clear range of a security camera. And the existing barbed wire visible from Garfield Avenue shall be removed or replaced with an alternative fencing or gate material following separate planning and building department review and approval of a proposed replacement fence or gate. This will also be completed by August 5th, 2027, or next year. With that, we recommend approval and adoption of resolution number PC 26024 to approve conditional use permit number 1003, subject to the conditions of approval in the resolution. I am happy to answer any questions. We do also have the applicants here in the audience.
I'd like to also add that the revised report and conditions of approval were uploaded to the website today, and they're before you.
Number
Thank you
4.
for your report.
Is it just gonna be softball or is it gonna be baseball as well?
The applicant just proposes softball training for youths.
Is there a facility nearby us regarding softball like this? Is there a facility?
Within the city of Paramount, this
No, in other cities. Did we look into that?
I did not look into that.
We can find out. We'll get you a list tomorrow.
All right.
I just have one question. I'd like to just have the owner assure us that this is really just for softball practice and that they won't eventually open it up for parties. A lot of these industries along Garfield are doing that. I hear it in my neighborhood, so.
We could double check. My understanding is that the applicants have a strong passion for softball, and maybe, Ms. Ah, if you want to add to that, her experience as a coach and what she's done.
Yeah, so it's a father-daughter duo, the applicants, and they have a history of coaching softball, and so their purpose, they're actually based here in Paramount, like they live here, so they wanted to set up roots here in this warehouse suite so that they can provide their services in a more contained area, as well as safe, hence the netting, the proposed business hours outside of the other tenants to avoid any sort of noise or impact to them for the benefit of the youth.
We like the idea. I think that it would be good for our young people.
For the young people, yes.
Yes. The owner, would you like to come up and say something?
I'm a little short. Hi, I'm Natalie Luna. You guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I have been coaching for about maybe 3 years now. I graduated from Cal Lutheran about 3 years ago, and I played softball all 4 years there. Played softball since I was a little girl, and it's just truly a passion of mine. And I think your question about if there's anything like this in surrounding cities or areas, I feel, maybe I'm biased, but I keep my group small for a reason. It's because I love to just have one-on-one interaction and making sure that they get the kind of attention that they need. And I also have my prices a little bit lower than a lot of our like competitors, I guess you would say, because I never want it to be a burden on any family. I truly care about that, and it's not just about, you know, them learning how to throw, learning how to field, learning how to all the mechanics of infield. It's truly how, because softball is a huge part of everyone's life, but it also can be small once it's over. It's about how you present yourself in the workplace, in around everyone else, and it's just how you carry yourself. And you know, I like to teach them a lot about the life lessons that are in softball that they can take outside when it's all over, because when it's all over, we're not going to probably need to know how to throw, how to field, and all that. So just wanted to give you guys some insight about the stuff that I care about and that I teach these young girls, and I would love to get more youth from Paramount and be able to just give them access to that. So, yes.
So it'd be like a training center.
Exactly, yeah. So
You're striving to.
Yeah, so currently I do lessons at a park, and so yeah, I only do infield, so first base, second base, shortstop, third base, and it's usually, my max group is 6, and it can go from literally like a private to a group of 6.
Okay, because
Yeah.
it is big. It is, especially in college, you know.
Yeah,
It is.
definitely.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, just getting them ready for the next level, and then even after that for their lives. So,
Well, good luck.
yeah, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. I think that would be a great asset for our students.
You are.
So I would like a motion to close the public hearing, please.
Weisenberger moves to close.
And I second the motion.
Been moved in second. May I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Sparza,
Yes.
Commissioner Moreno,
Yes.
Vice Chair Weisenberger, Chair Timmons.
Yes. Okay, I need a motion to adopt Planning Commission Resolution Number PC 26024, a request by Natalie Luna and Edgar Cervantes, NS by Luna, to operate an indoor recreation facility for softball at 14018 Garfield Avenue in the M2 Heavy Manufacturing Zone.
Okay, Sparta will make a motion for the resolution number PC 26024.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Been moved in second. May I have roll call?
Commissioner Sparza,
Yes.
Commissioner Moreno,
Yes.
Vice Chair Weisenberger,
Yes.
Chair Timmons.
Yes. Okay. We're down to item number 5, conditional use permit number 1004. And that's a request by Jaime Lopez, La Amapola LLC, to operate a restaurant with 20 indoor customer seats at 13729 Garfield Avenue in the CN Commercial Manufacturing Zone. This project is a Class 1 existing facility, categorical exemption pursuant to Article 19, Section 15301 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. So, may I have a staff report, please?
Yes, so this is the report that Associate Planner Leslie Corrales will be giving. So just a quick introduction. So this is on the Amapola Market property. It was developed in 2010. Before that, it was vacant for years. There were a number of previous proposals. There was actually a worm farm, believe it or not, way back when. Some other proposals included a McDonald's, a gas station, a few others. So eventually, the Galvan family purchased the property to expand their Amapola market that had been operating from other cities, Downey and Los Angeles, central Los Angeles. So with this, they developed the property, and it's with 3 buildings. So in the back, it's just called the back building. On the west is the existing Amapola market. Of the 3 buildings, that's the only building that's in operation to the public, that's open to the public. And then you have the middle building, and that's what Associate Planner Corrales will be presenting about. The middle building was originally conceived as a 4-suite retail building that could have had a restaurant with an application, but originally a 4-suite building. It was built, for whatever reason, those suites were never leased out. They never came to fruition. Then in 2013, the owners applied for a tamale production business with customer seats. And that was approved by the Planning Commission in 2013. And they also went through the permitting process with the city and the County Department of Public Health, the health department. And they got their permits for the kitchen and the processes. But what didn't happen is that they never opened up to the public. They never put in the seats. So they have been using it for kind of like storage, for this area that we're going to talk about. And there is the kitchen area that has been permitted by the county. Just as more background, there's also call it the front building, the building that's the closest to Garfield Avenue. And if you go by there, you can tell it's intended as a drive-through. It was reviewed and approved as a drive-through. And that was, although there was an application at one time for a Yoshinoya, it was approved by the Planning Commission about four years ago, or 5 years ago. Yoshinoya decided, they opted out. They opted to not go in. So it's been vacant since being constructed in 2010. That's just kind of the bigger picture. Now we'll focus on this building and the small part of this building proposed for a chicken restaurant. And Leslie, go ahead.
Thank you, John, for that introduction. So good evening, Chair and members of the Planning Commission, staff, and audience members. This agenda item is conditional use permit number 1004, and it is a request for to allow the operation of a restaurant with 20 indoor customer seats. The address is 13729 Garfield Avenue. The zone is CM Commercial Manufacturing. The site size is 55,479 square feet. The size of the building is 4,760 square feet, and the project scope for today is 777 square feet. To provide a brief overview of the site's history, the building at the center of the property has actually remained closed to the public since it was constructed in 2010. The site was built following Development Review Board approval of application 07025. On the site, you'll also find the Amapola Market, which opened in mid-2010, along with a separate restaurant building with a drive-through that is currently vacant. When the central building was first designed, it was intended to accommodate 4 multi-tenant suites, but that concept ultimately did not move forward, and a few years later, in 2013, the city approved conditional use permit number 756 for Amapola Tamaleria. Public Health signed off on the kitchen facilities, but the customer seating portion of that proposal did not proceed, so the building has remained unused since then. And here is the subject site. As you can see, the property sits on the corner of Howery Street and Garfield Avenue, located northwest of Paramount. The yellow area is the project site being reviewed today. The proposed area located in Building B at the center of the property is 4,760 square feet. The highlighted area in orange is the project area, and the gray portion is the area for kitchen equipment and small storage component. The site currently provides a total of 74 parking spaces, including 3 ADA compliant parking spaces. The municipal code requires 42 parking spaces for the market, and the proposed restaurant seating and the remaining building area require 15 parking spaces total. Of this total floor area, 3,983 square feet are dedicated to only the kitchen and food processing area, while only 777 square feet are allocated to the restaurant, which includes 20 seats and 1 wheelchair space. Equipment used by the business will be limited to standard kitchen equipment. And these are some photos of the property showing different areas of the site conditions and buildings. On the left is Building B facing the east side. The middle picture is the interior, and the picture to the right is pictures of the site facing south and west, and east, excuse me. Both site pictures were taken at different times of the day. the left exterior pictures being in the morning and the right pictures being in the evening after 5 p.m. There are conditions to refurbish the landscaping and refurbishing the parking lot, including repainting the parking stalls. The hours and days of operation for this proposal is Monday to Sunday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. They will be employing 4 staff members on site. There are 74 parking spaces available, 15 of which are required for this proposal. And equipment used by the restaurant shall be limited to standard commercial kitchen appliances and food service tools. During the month of December, Amapola Market experiences a substantial increase in customer volume driven by the traditional purchase of masa or corn dough. This seasonal demand creates a short-term congestion in the parking lot. Even though the site provides 74 parking spaces and meets all municipal code requirements, to manage these peak season conditions, store management implements measures during this period of time to manage the flow of traffic. For this proposal, we are implementing parking management conditions, seasonal hours, adjusting hours each year from December 20th to December 23rd for masa sales, follow any written direction from the Planning and Building Department. And this is to ensure that there is no issue with the opening of this restaurant during the peak season, which is December. Permanent signage, install city-approved no residential parking signs once locations and materials are reviewed and approved. Temporary signage as well, using temporary signs during peak periods, especially during the month of December to reinforce parking restrictions. Seasonal parking management plan, so formalize a peak season operations plan and coordinate with the city of Paramount and the city of Southgate. And as well as a February 2027 evaluation to review seasonal operations, parking strategies, and signage and determine if updates are needed. And this will be based if the restaurant is in operation in December of 2026. Our analysis is that it is adequate in size and location for the proposed business. It is in the appropriate commercial zone and is compatible with surrounding businesses. The conditions of approval also establish seasonal operating hour adjustments, require permanent and temporary perimeter signage, formalize and expand peak season measures through a coordinated seasonal parking management plan shared with neighboring jurisdictions, and provide for a February 2027 review to confirm the continued effectiveness of these operational and parking related provisions. And we recommend adopting resolution number PC 26025, approving conditional use permit number 1004, subject to the conditions of approval in the resolution, and with the following conditions added. Seasonal hour adjustments, hours of operation for the restaurant shall be adjusted annually from December 20th to December 23rd of each year to accommodate masa corn dough sales associated with Amapola Market or any other business on the subject property. The permittee or successor tenant shall modify hours as directed by written notification from the Planning and Building Department. 26, parking signage, following separate Planning and Building Department review and approval of precise locations, text, and materials. The business shall install permanent signage indicating that parking on adjacent residential blocks is prohibited. Temporary signage shall be installed as needed during peak periods to reinforce these restrictions. 27, seasonal parking management plan. The seasonal parking management plan shall formalize and expand all peak season operational measures, including provisions for interagency coordination, and be transmitted to the City of Paramount and to the City of Southgate. And 28, February 2027 review. A review shall occur in February 2027, provided that the restaurant was in operation in December 2026 to evaluate the effectiveness of seasonal operations, parking management strategies, and signage requirements, and determine whether modifications are warranted. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And we also have the applicant in the audience as well.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Chair. Just want to point out, as with the previous application, that there were some revisions that took place today, and we have updated those. Those changes are before you. You'll see on the dais revised conditions of approval number 25, 26, 27, and 28, which are identical to what Associate Planner Corrales mentioned. Those changes are highlighted in red. It's the inclusion of those new conditions, and we added it to the website. It's now publicly on the website. So just gonna leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from our commission?
What's that?
Do you have any questions?
That was,
Not yet.
I remember I used to deliver lard there, and I would always see it, and I would think, what are they gonna do with this building? And it's good to see that it's gonna be put to use.
So we do have public, well, let me open the public hearing. And we do have testimony.
Yes, we do. So we do have 5 messages that were transmitted by email, and I could summarize those. And there are we have 4 speaker cards. 4 people are here in person who wish to speak. And it seems to be in opposition. And the applicant is here, so I would assume, in favor.
So should we start with the emails, or do you want to start with the audience comments?
Maybe the emails, they did come in before, so I'll give you a little summary. Pardon my glasses on. We received 4 from the city of Southgate, the city itself. So one from Mayor Joshua Barron, one from Vice Mayor Al Rios, one from Council Member Maria del Pilar Avalos, excuse me, and one from Council Member Gil Hurtado. And they're similar letters, not necessarily in opposition, but requesting some operational commitments by the applicant. And I'd like to say most of these, if not all, were in some form addressed in the changes that Associate Planner Corrales mentioned. And that is one. And then we do have another letter or an email in opposition from let's just try and read if it's a neighbor, presumably a neighbor, from Jose Figueroa.
What's the opposition? From the mayor?
That's this one.
I saw that.
Do you want to summarize?
Oh, in opposite, I'm sorry, sure.
Thank you.
This submission, it states that the size of the main building, the market, is inadequate for the amount of customers that frequent the premises. And then building A, built as an in-and-out restaurant, has never opened due to its poor placement on the lot. And in summary, parking is inadequate. And this person is suggesting that the building A is the front building facing Garfield, is suggesting that building be demolished to make room for additional parking.
Which building?
Building A. Okay, now can we hear our public comments?
Yes, so as mentioned, we have 4, and I believe this is in order, but the first is from Sandra Bobadilla.
Good evening, everyone. I've been in the neighborhood for 34 years. I raised my kids in there, and I still work in the community. And let me tell you, first of all, Ms. Corral, thank you for the pretty picture, but the reality is not the way it is. We have problems every single day with parking. The employees parking in our neighborhood. My house has a beautiful tree, that there's a lot of shade. I find trash that I have to be picking up every day. But that's only a very small portion of the problems that we have. We have problems not only on holidays, on the weekends. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Many times they're parked on the corners. I've been calling security a lot of times. They don't even listen. Last time I was harassed by a customer just because I was waiting for the light to turn green, and there's a lot of accidents in that particular corner. And I was waiting, making sure that it was safe because people just runs the light. That guy harassed me. I called Amapola. I demanded that I speak to a manager. They passed me from one person to another, and I never got a response. So this is only on the weekends. Every morning, there's a lot of people in there buying, regular people. I think they're like from a fumigation company. It's already packed. They don't have any parkings. So all the amount of parkings that they're saying that they have, it is not real. Believe me, 34 years in there. I can walk from my house to there, and I can tell you. If you want me to bring proof, I can record and I can bring it next time. But it is not gonna happen because during the holidays, I am a teacher, and during the holidays, I have to get out of my house and go wait at my mom's for a few hours because by 5 o'clock, it's already a huge line. It's a nightmare. This is a really pretty picture, but not for this area because this area is residential. Yep. And we want our community to stay safe. It's not safe. Amapola has brought a lot of homeless. They're always harassing people, and this needs to stop.
Respect for each other. Thank you. Number second, please.
Yes, the next would be from Gustavo Cotto.
Good evening, Council. I'm here in opposed to this project. For the same reasons my neighbor mentioned, traffic issues, safety, and just pretty much a hellish of an experience. As the young lady mentioned, that is a short-term situation in regards to the sale of masa. This is not a short-term, it's year-long. It's not just Christmas, it's other events throughout the year. And most recently, from my experience, it's the first time I ever experienced it during the World Cup, especially when Mexico plays, there's a lot of traffic going in there for a lot of shopping. You put a restaurant in there, it complicates matters. But the sale of masa is the worst. You don't know what hell is until that first years when they first started. When I observed a paramedic unit and a fire truck going to that neighborhood to assist somebody, it took them over 15 minutes to get to that location and another 15 minutes to get out. For firefighters, they want a 5-minute response time. They got well over 30 minutes. Thank God that wasn't somebody that needed immediate emergency, or else that person would have died. Now, as far as traffic going in and out there, the report doesn't really go into account what type of vehicles utilize that parking. There's the court trucks down the street on Rosecrans and Garfield. They're always parking there to go get food. There's these fumigation company trucks that also take up a lot of space, and also the 18-wheelers that come and deliver. That was another hell back then when I observed literally 6 18-wheelers, not just 4 inside the property, the 2 outside, double parked, making traffic conditions terrible for the teacher right here that needed to get to work. She couldn't get to work on time, or anybody else for that matter. It made it very difficult. Now, I requested online for an environmental impact report, but I'm also today requesting for a traffic impact analysis, see if I can get all those files so I can study it more further and determine how bad this idea is. And I had a question for you guys. Sprouts is gonna open, sooner or is open now. Why wasn't that property offered to Amapola? You got this small little, the whole thing right there is pathetic. I've spoken to somebody who was there examining the area. It might have been Yoshinoya, but I asked them what were they there for. He said, well, we're just checking out the location, and I don't think we're gonna have a business here. He said, why is that? There's no parking. There's just literally no parking. There's nothing but structures. And unfortunately, City of Paramount has that bad tendency of building these type of structures with 0 parking. So people that utilize these locations have to go outside the neighborhood and look for parking out there. So if I could please talk to somebody about getting those reports so I could look into them further. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Veronica Cotto, and I'm a resident of this neighborhood. I would like to express my concerns regarding the proposed restaurant that is at this location. While I understand the importance of supporting local businesses, I believe that the project that is believed to be the project, it will create significant challenges to the nearby residents. First, traffic congestion and noise is always an issue here, a very serious issue in this area. There is only one entrance and one exit serving the neighborhood, and we already have experienced heavy traffic from the existing market. Right next to us, there are apartments, taco restaurant, beauty salon, and other businesses that are nearby. Adding another restaurant operating 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. will generate additional vehicle traffic and making this even a more congested area. Second, parking is a major concern. Residents frequently struggle to find available parking because spaces are already being used by customers visiting the nearby businesses, and also the apartment tenants are also parking their vehicles. Vehicles are often parked throughout the area, double parking everywhere, blocking in our driveway. We're just right in front of the Amapola, which is not even 50 feet from them. This limits the residents' access to parking near their homes. Introducing another business that attracts customers throughout the day and the evening will create an even greater pressure on the limited parking that it's available now. Finally, safety is one of our highest priorities. Our community is already dealing with issues involving homelessness individuals gathering in and around the parking lot of Amapola, particularly during the nighttime hours, causing noise and disturbance. Residents are concerned about the loitering, the security, and maintaining safe environments for our families. The proposed restaurant extended operation hours could increase the activity in the area and further strain existing safety concerns. For these reasons, I respectfully ask the decision makers to carefully consider the impacts on the traffic, the parking, and the public safety before approving this proposal. Our neighborhood's quality of life and residents' access to safe and adequate parking should always remain a priority. Thank you for your time.
The next is from Crystal De Leon.
Hello, my name is Crystal De Leon. I've lived in my home since 1979. My grandparents have owned it since 1954. And when the restaurant was built, it became a nightmare. During Christmas, holidays, things like that. It wasn't Paramount that came out to help us, it was Southgate. And if it wasn't for Southgate, we wouldn't be able to get into our block for those holidays. With the police patrol, we have to show signs that say we're a resident there. Otherwise, you're not allowed on there. We don't get our deliveries. We can't get emergency vehicles through. We can't get in and off of our street. We can't have family and friends over during the holidays because they will not let them in the streets. Why? Because they don't have a parking pass. Why? Because of the masa that's being sold from that restaurant. The market. If you add a restaurant that's going to operate 7 days a week from 10 to 10, what are we looking at for the holidays? That's going to be their excuse to close, keep the street open so that we can allow the patrons for the restaurant. I think this is a bunch of crap. I'm sorry to say it, but this is not what our homes, what we should be worried about getting on and off our streets during any holidays or any event. Not to mention my grandma that lived next door to me, she was 102 years old. She had an emergency. It took the ambulance driver 45 minutes to get to her before they got to her. What was going to happen? Would she have died by the time they got there because of the traffic coming off of Garfield onto Howery? With that, sometimes it's blocked all the way down to Main Street before you can even get onto our street. We can't make a U-turn because they now decided to put a center divider. So you can't turn left coming off of Garfield and into Howery. You have to go all the way down to Century, turn around, and come all the way back up in the line. Not to mention the cars that park for the businesses that are on Garfield. So we're stuck trying to get onto our street. That's one. Two, what about all the homeless that the Amapola people that work there, that they feed and they give them clothing and they give them umbrellas and things like this, and then they're defecating on the streets in front of the apartments. I don't live in the apartments, but there's kids there. You think that it's fair for kids to see homeless people defecating on the street with their bare behinds to everybody in the world? One. Two, what about when they're smoking meth or shooting up meth out there? And these people are okay to feed and clothe them and give them umbrellas and stuff? Why is nobody talking about that? I raised 9 kids in that area, and when I was raising my kids, we didn't allow none of that. But now it's okay for these homeless to have shelter in the drive-through area. Just as we were leaving today to come to this meeting, there's 2 homeless in there, and they're both smoking meth. And that's okay for our kids and our elderly and us to raise families in. I don't feel it's fair that they're going to open up a restaurant and then they're going to continue to help these homeless. I get it. Homeless are, they're in a bad situation, but there's better help than that, than what we should have to see. And I think it's unfair that we have to suffer to get into our street. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have another from Lucy Santa Maria.
Hello. I would just like to also share, just like all my neighbors, how the Amapola has affected us, and by adding another business there, how really bad idea it would be with the parking. Again, I echoing all my neighbors, it's not just Christmas, it's on the weekends too. Christmas, I think just because Southgate actually steps in because of this medical emergency, before this medical emergency, it would take me at least 20 minutes to get out of the street. So knowing I would, not to be late for work, I would have to leave early just because of the traffic. It's gotten better thanks to our city and because of this medical emergency. But there's just too much. I have a picture here of somebody in my driveway loading their masa. They parked in my driveway. So, and unfortunately, it was the day before they had the Southgate police monitoring for us to come in with our permits. But every day, I live so close to it that there's always trash. People eat on the street. They leave their trash in front of the house. It's very bad. Yes, homeless is a problem everywhere, but I think it's going to increase the homeless there because there's more people going to be willing to feed them. I know the homeless man that's there right now, every time he gets taken, he comes right back because he honestly probably feels safe there because he's being fed and he's being taken care of there. I just would like you to reconsider and to actually look at, those pictures were very nice, nobody there, but if I show you pictures from my from my doorbell camera, it's not like that. It's always, always packed. And noise, even at nighttime, just from, I think it's when they take out the grease traps, I have a video from my porch of how loud it is. I can hear it in my house, and that's like at 9 o'clock at night. Thankfully, my daughter is grown, and I don't have to put her to sleep, but that would be very loud noise already. And with a business closing at 10, that's gonna be more noise for our neighborhood. It shouldn't, there was a house there. I've lived in there, I'm 52 years old. I've lived there since I was 4 years old on this block. I love my neighborhood, and it's not how it was. And that really, when it sat empty for many years. I want to say it was because when they built the 105, I've lived there since before the 105. And it sat empty for now. And again, nobody wanted it because there's not enough parking. I've been told many restaurants have tried to go there, and they just can't because of the parking. One way in, one way out. If there was maybe, I can't even say, they can't even exit off because we're just so close to the freeway. That wasn't intended for businesses, it was more for residents. I believe there was a home there, if I remember when I was little, and a tree, I just remember the big, beautiful tree that was knocked down to build these 3 buildings. Thank you.
And the applicant is in the audience.
I would first like to just mention thank you, each and every one of you, for being respectful. I would ask that you still be respectful when the owner comes up to speak. If the owner would like to come up and speak, please.
Good evening. My name is Jaime Lopez. I am one of the managing partners for La Amapola LLC. Of course, that's a very tough act to follow, but in our defense, these buildings, as you all know, were approved and existing prior to our acquisition. So the original founding family sold to us in 2021. And yes, as you know, these buildings have been sitting empty for more than 10 years, over 10 years. And our intentions, aside from continuously paying operating expenses, rent, and other things, just keeping these buildings open, is to create a safer community. They're all right. There are a lot of issues with homeless. And I believe one of the reasons is they feel attracted to the fact that these buildings are empty. They feel sheltered. They come to the sides of the buildings. Excuse me. We believe that if these buildings were open and operating, it would deter them from being around the area. I can't speak for the city, but I do encourage that we look at the off and on ramps of the 105, which do create, and there's a lot of homeless encampments there. Unfortunately, I can't control that they jump that wall that's literally off of the 105 and come onto the properties. Again, tough act to follow, but our intentions are to create a business to bring jobs to the community, bring some life into that shopping center. And unfortunately, there's a lot that maybe you guys don't know or are not aware, but over the past 5 years, I've done everything and anything I can under my control to address the neighborhood's concerns in terms of employee parking on the streets, garbage, loitering, even the traffic flow in and out during the holidays. We have partnered with the city of Southgate for these past 5 years, and we've complied with everything they've asked us to do, including add additional crowd control, traffic control. I invite each and every one of you to visit the site on any given day, even the weekends. Literally, the chaos that we have is a 5 to 7 day event. During the 17th, we forecast the 17th to the 24th of December. That's the chaotic time. That's the time that the city of Southgate steps in, and we applaud them for that. We also contribute financially to that. But they do step in. They set up a traffic control task force to allow customers to come in and out of that street, including residents, like they did mention. We do as much as we can to control with what we have. Unfortunately, I think it's a little fair that we get penalized for indirect or collateral. We did not build that. We did not design, if you will. We just took over, acquired, and all we're trying to do is create businesses for the community and obviously take fruit of the building that's there. We're paying rent, we're paying operating expenses for the past 5 years. So all we're doing is just continuing what the prior ownership wanted to do, which is open a business. If you have any questions, I'd be more than glad to answer them.
One question that I have.
Yes.
Is you're the second owner?
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is the lot that you own?
Yes.
Do you own it?
Yes.
The one on Garfield that is empty?
No. So prior ownership owned a lot across the street.
Right.
That was intended, from what I understand, to create a parking structure,
Right.
both for employees and customers.
True.
I am not 100% sure why it did not go through. From what I understand is that there was a safety concern on the crossing from Garfield over to Howery. I'm not too sure if that's the correct answer, but that's what I know. And unfortunately, it never got approved, so they sold the lot. We never acquired that lot. That
So
lot
you
doesn't
never
belong to
acquired
us.
the lot.
No,
So somebody else owns it?
correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, John. Leslie.
Have you talked to the owner of the adjacent lot?
We have not. but we're more than willing to, if we can have access to who it is and renegotiate, see if the city will consider creating a parking structure. I'm willing to evaluate that cost if it's something that will benefit both the community, the tenants, and obviously the city.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, it sounds like that would be advantageous if you were able to do that.
Of course, I agree.
Because I can understand the parking and the traffic, because I used to buy the masa there, believe it or
We
not.
appreciate that,
I did.
yeah.
And it's very busy Christmas. Now, I don't know about the rest of the year, but I know it's busy.
It you know,
For sure.
I
And
think,
Thanksgiving.
yeah, I would not like to get into a push and shove with the community because obviously we're neighbors, and I think I've been respectful to everybody that I've encountered. But I do want to make note that there are benefits to that parking lot or to that structure for all of the residents on Howery. Not just neighboring vendors or brick and mortars utilize that parking while it's empty, but the residents as well. And this is documented on an everyday basis. So the fact that they express a concern that our employees or customers park on the street, it is also the case on the other side.
But you have chains up there to block the,
excuse me,
to block
thank
the
you.
parking there.
No one interrupted you. I'm speaking. Thank you very much. So, apartment complexes across the street, neighbors literally in front of our property utilize not just the street, but the parking inside as well. We speak about being dirty or leaving debris in the street. I want to mention that the gentleman right here has a dog that he brings every single morning over to my property, lets him defecate, and does not pick it up. So again, I didn't want it to come to this, but there are two sides to the story. And I think we're trying to be as much as polite to each other. But anyway, if there's any other formal, legitimate questions, I'd be more than welcome to answer.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Is it possible that maybe we can table this and maybe look at the parking and maybe give him maybe a little time to see if he can connect to that adjacent parking area before we?
Yes, absolutely. I think that would be a great idea, and staff can help
Right?
communicate with the neighboring property owner, or the property owner across Garfield.
Okay, thank you.
Now, what if the owner is not willing to sell?
That'll be something you'll have to communicate.
Right.
At another
Right.
time.
Very good. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, audience, for your courtesy. And, so there's no vote. Can we close the public hearing and just say?
You would continue the public hearing to a future date.
Right. September 2nd?
I think so.
Okay,
There's
so we won't close this. We'll continue to.
Yes, September 2nd.
if you want to.
Will we be notified of that hearing as well?
There will not be a second public hearing notice, so be sure to, if you want to tell your neighbors.
So we'll just get the final say, like what you guys vote at that time, or?
Oh, well, I'll turn to the chair but bottom line is, you're welcome to, you're more than welcome to join the meeting on September 2nd. And you know what, I have some business cards, I can give them out after the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. We will. Oh, please, thank you for reminding me. I need a motion to continue the public hearing to, what was it, September 2nd? To September 2nd, planning commission meeting.
Weisenberger make a motion to continue.
A second.
Been moved in second, may I have roll call?
Commissioner Sparza?
Yes.
Commissioner Moreno? Vice Chair Weisenberger?
Yes.
Chair Timmons?
Yes. So we'll move this to September 2nd. Okay, we're down to oral report.
Yes. And we're fortunate to have City Manager John Moreno this evening, who will be giving us a short presentation, or an informative presentation on the parcel tax measure that will be on the November 2026 ballot. And maybe we could wait a moment for the room.
I wish we had some.
That's why I'm moving around, lighting my legs.
We've had that in since 2010. 16. I kept bringing it up. I didn't even know that he didn't want it till now, you see. You can continue.
Sorry about that. So, yep, City Manager John Moreno will give the presentation on the parcel tax measure.
Great, thank you, John. I sure know how to clear a room. Not too many people are interested in this one, I guess. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commission. I'm here today to discuss the city's ballot measure that will appear on the November ballot for a parcel tax. So this is just a brief agenda of what I'm going to be speaking about this evening. We're going to first talk about the measure and why it matters now, the priorities that are involved in the revenue that could be recovered if the a measure passes on the November ballot, and then we'll show you exactly how the measure's worded. That way, when you receive your ballot, you'll know what it's about, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions. And also with us tonight in the audience is our Finance Director, the only person left in the audience, Ms. Lana Deach, so she can answer any financial questions that I'm unable to. So let's jump right into it. So a little bit about the Public Safety Environment, Streets, and Business Improvement measure. What is it? So it is actually a parcel tax proposal, as I said, that is on the November ballot that will provide a dedicated funding source for specific purposes. Will apply that the tax, if approved by the voters, will apply exclusively to industrial and commercial properties, and it will be based on square footage. If approved by the voters, the revenues will be deposited into a special fund and may only be used for the purposes authorized by the measure and not for general governmental purposes. So the parcel tax itself, this was approved by the City Council last Tuesday night at their meeting. And when I say approved to put it on the ballot in November. It would affect approximately 1,061 parcels here in town. There'll be zero impact to residential properties, and I'll get into why the council made that decision in a moment here. These are the proposed rates for commercial properties. It's 8 cents per square foot. For industrial, it's 11 cents per square foot. And for those properties that are vacant, commercial or industrial, 13 cents per square foot. It's estimated that the parcel tax could generate $4 million annually. And once again, this will not apply to residential property owners and renters. As I said, it's projected to generate $4 million annually, and it's to help fund maintenance of damaged streets, public safety response, things like air quality monitoring, and investment back into our local small businesses. There's also built-in protections. There is a CPI cost of living adjustment that is built in, but it's capped at 3%, very similar to the Prop 13 protections that have been in effect since the 1970s. There is also an independent oversight committee which will actually review the expenditures and report out publicly each year. The intention is for the Oversight Committee to be composed of members from the business community as well, the Chamber of Commerce in particular. So when the council looked at this proposal, they didn't want to impact the businesses all at once right away. So they asked us to go back and look at a phased-in approach. So the ordinance is written in such a way that in year one, 65% of what is owed will be due. Year two, 80%, and year three, the full will 100%. As with any property tax, a bill processing in LA County, the first bill would be received in late 2027 at the initial 65% phase-in rate, and it would be split into 2 installments. As we know, our first payment on property taxes is due December of each year, and then the second payment would be due in April of that following year. What property owners would actually pay? A typical small property owner, here we go, would pay between $23 to $97 annually for a parcel approximately 228 square feet to almost 1,200 square feet. And you can see the majority of the parcels would fall under that category there, between $1,001 to $5,000 annually. That would be 41%, and another 38% would be less than $1,000. This is not uncommon. There are a couple of cities here in Southern California who have parcel taxes or who have passed those. More recently, the city of Santa Fe Springs, they implemented a parcel tax 2 years ago. And that was very similar on commercial and industrial businesses. Although we don't have as large as of an industrial area as Santa Fe Springs does, the fact is we still do, and we still suffer the impacts from those. The example that I give is a warehouse, a real warehouse here in town on Garfield Avenue that generates between 140 to 152 truck trips per day in and out of that facility. And because it's a warehouse, it does not generate any sales tax to the city. Yes, they do pay property tax, but in a moment here, I'll show you how much we, as the city of Paramount, collect in property tax. So there is a need for it in the sense that it is targeting those industrial and commercial businesses that have impacts and do not contribute to the local revenue stream. So why it matters now. The general fund is a primary resource for us to pay for everyday essential services like public safety, road maintenance, environmental care, economic development. And as I mentioned, it's funded through things like local sales tax, property tax, utility users. There's a list there on item number 2. But unlike the general fund revenues, the public safety, environment, streets, and business improvement measure parcel tax revenues, as I mentioned earlier, will be deposited into a separate, dedicated special fund strictly for designated community priorities. So this is a little bit more of an expansion of what I just mentioned. That's the general fund. We have close to $50 million per year in general fund revenue. More than a third of that comes directly from sales tax, and then the next largest one is motor vehicle in lieu tax, followed by utility users tax. And you can see all the other revenue down the road there. Now let's talk a little bit about sales tax, because I mentioned that earlier as to why that's important and why certain businesses pay it and why others don't. The bottom line from this slide, though, is that Paramount doesn't collect as much as you would think that we could. For instance, in that blue box there, the city of Paramount, there was generated $2.1 billion in taxable sales in 2025. That means that all of the transactions that took place in Paramount just in 1 year total to $2 billion, of which $226 million generated in sales tax. Then if you break it down even further, of that $226 million, Paramount only received $18 million of that total. So as you can see, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. The rest of the sales tax went to the state and to the county. So as you can see, although we have a thriving business community, it's just not generating the amount of sales tax that is needed to pay our bills. Our bills are becoming more expensive, and I'll go into that in particular in a moment here. But Paramount's sales tax rate is 10.5%. That's equivalent to $1.75. So as you can see there. So again, the point here being is that we generate a lot of taxable sales occur, generating a total sales tax, but we only get a portion of that. So as I mentioned earlier, not all commercial industrial businesses generate sales tax on their products. That holds true actually for not only industrial, but some commercial. You take things like healthcare, all the health clinics in town, they do not generate sales tax. Nail parlors do not generate sales tax. Insurance businesses do not generate sales tax. We have a lot of uses in our commercial sector that just do not generate sales tax, in addition to the industrial areas that I talked about. So that's one of the things that the city council took into account when they made the decision, sorry about that, to put the parcel tax on the ballot, is that there's a lot of uses in town which are helpful. They generate jobs, they provide services to the community, we get it, but they just don't help us to pay the bills for the essential services that we need to pay to provide to the community. Property taxes, so let's talk a little bit about that. In 2025, the taxable value of property here in Paramount totaled $5.7 billion. Of that, the property tax is $57 million, but our share was only $3.3 million. So as you can see, it keeps narrowing down to what our share actually is. So Paramount is actually considered a low property tax city, and that was by design. Back in 1957, when the city was incorporated, our founding fathers made the decision to be a low property tax city. And the reason for that was to try and attract development, whether industrial development, commercial development, or residential. So they wanted to keep property taxes low, and it was intentionally. Unfortunately, you're locked in. You cannot raise your property tax rate at all. You can do a parcel tax, but in terms of property taxes, you're locked in basically. So of the property taxes, where does it all go? Well, you can see here on the chart on the left, the majority of it goes to the school district, the community college district, LA County, the fire district, and a variety of other agencies. And you can see Paramount there in light green. We collect 6.72%. So if you look up at the chart on the right, where we stand, we're at rank 74 out of 88. So we're pretty low there. And the highest being that of the city of Los Angeles at 26.16. Now, there is a difference there. Many cities that are on the higher end tend to have their own police department and fire department. And that goes back to the decision that I said that was made back in 1957 when we were incorporated. There's a less costlier way to do business, and that is through contracting, and that's what Paramount is. So those cities that tend to have a higher property tax rate tend to have their own police and fire because it's much more expensive to have that. So, but the bottom line here is that Paramount is a low property tax city, so we don't collect a lot of revenue from property taxes. And this chart is a comparison that shows us as well as other cities who contract with the county for fire and for sheriff. You can see us, we're towards the lower end. But the thing to pay attention to is that we're also, and partially an industrial area as well. The cities that are kind of below us, like say Diamond Bar and Lakewood, they do not have an industrial area. Neither does Hawaiian Gardens. As I mentioned, Santa Fe Springs does. They're a low property tax city like we are, but they also did a parcel tax as well. So let's look at now our expenses. I mentioned that our revenue in the previous pie chart was at 48 million, almost 49. Our expenses for this current fiscal year are at 49.4 million. The largest share of that goes to public safety. That's to fund the sheriff's contract, followed by public works, and then community services, which is typically known as parks and recreation. So, as I mentioned, there you have it on the bottom there. There's our expenditures, 49.4 million. Our revenue is at 48 million. This, again, is for our current fiscal year. So this shows a deficit, and that's what we're trying to fix. We have a deficit of a little over $500,000. That was recovered. That was covered by our reserve fund. We do thankfully have a healthy reserve fund, but you can't keep dipping into the reserve fund year after year. There has to be some essential revenue that is raised. When it comes to costs, we have cut costs, and I'll go over that in a moment here in a future slide. But if we keep on this pace, as you can see here, over the next 10 years, if we did absolutely nothing, that's what this assumes. If we made no cuts and if we raised no revenue, you could see what can happen here. The blue line that's going down sharply is our reserve fund, which I mentioned is really healthy. But again, assuming we do nothing, we don't raise revenue, we don't cut costs, that is going tremendously down. And if you could see the blue line or the green line, that's our revenue. The red line is our expenses. You can see the expenses start to get higher than the revenue in this particular hypothetical situation. So we want to avoid that. We definitely do. Rising costs. So let's talk a little bit about that. Heavy truck traffic is definitely accelerating, bless you, street deterioration. In fact, our 2023 study projected that $43 million is needed to repair all of our arterial streets just in our commercial and industrial corridors. Doesn't count for our residential. And the cost of passing on or continuing to defer the maintenance, it actually increases with each year. Here's a chart showing how that works. So this is an example of a street pavement project for one portion. In 2026, that cost is at $6.5 million. If we waited until next year to do it, that cost would go up by $500,000. If we waited 2 years to do it, it goes up to $7.3 million. So as you can see, your cost raises exponentially to repair streets, and that's just due to the cost of asphalt, labor, everything involved right now, gas prices, that affects everything. So that's what this assumption shows there. So one of the largest industrial streets, Garfield Avenue, requires almost $28.7 million in street repairs, and that's due to heavy wear and tear on that particular street. This is an example of Garfield Avenue, what it looks like today. This is Garfield at Quimby. Also, there's Garfield near Richfield. So these are just portions of Garfield, and you can tell it's alligator, what they call a alligator really badly. It's cracked in several areas. This is on Vermont Avenue near Alondra. And you can see here in the middle picture, those black circles, those are traffic loops. So when you drive your car over the traffic loop, it triggers the traffic signal to turn green as you approach there. You can see, though, that those black circles are becoming more exposed. That's due to heavy wear and tear from truck traffic. That we need to fix, but we just don't have the money coming in to actually do that. Some more costs that are increasing, the rise of the sheriff's contract. The trajectory is rising 3 to 5% annually. It's projected that by 2035, our contract, which currently sits at close to 12 million, could be up to 16 million. And that's if it stays within the 3 to 5% annually. I've given the example when I was in public safety as the director back in the early 2000s. The cost for one deputy to cover the whole week was at around $240,000. Now it's over $640,000 for one deputy. So that cost has dramatically gone up. So I mentioned about cost cutting. That's one thing that we always look at here in Paramount before we look at taxes, because we want to take an internal look at what we're doing and seeing if there's anything that we could do. And we did. We've deferred maintenance to buildings over and over again. It's kind of hot in here. The air conditioning doesn't work to its full potential. That's an example. But we can't do anything about it because we don't have the money to make electrical upgrades to this old building. I would love to take you all downstairs to show you the air handler unit. It's pretty scary down there, but it's something that we just don't have the money to do. So that's another example where we just can't do it. For the past 2 years, we've actually cut our budget by 5%. So when the department heads submit their budget to me over the last 2 years, I've asked them to come back and make across-the-board cuts by 5%, both last year and this year. So that has happened. We actually have 2 frozen vacant full-time positions. They aren't as a result of layoffs. They're a result of people retiring or going elsewhere. So because we are being hit with increased costs, we made the tough decision to freeze those two full-time positions. We've also reduced part-time employee hours. Now, what this means is that we looked at our budget and we looked at what we really spend and part-time hours. Part-time hours are really hard to predict because when you have a large of part-time employees, there's a lot of turnover. They come and go. They're seasonal or they find full-time jobs. So there's a lack of, there's a time period in which we don't have anybody hired. So there's actually savings in there. Well, rather than continuing to budget for the full amount, we said let's pause and let's only budget for the hours that we usually do. So that's another thing we did. And then over the right, here's some other things that we did. We've limited overtime, we've reduced conference spending, and we've delayed purchasing new equipment. So the priorities within the parcel tax, these are the 4 what we call pillars: roads and infrastructure, public safety, environmental and essential services, and economic development. I talked already a lot about roads. I showed you pictures of what the current conditions are. So of the $4 million, the plan is to invest $2 million in roads. Now, how this is going to work, if approved again by the voters, is we will bond close to $30 million is the prediction that we could do, and then pave a number of streets that you see there in red using that $30 million over a 5-year period. And the $2 million then would go to pay down the debt, the $2 million that would be generated from the parcel tax. The idea behind that is if we're going to do this, we need to do it now, because remember that graph I showed you, the longer you wait, the costlier it becomes? Well, let's get this done, and let's do it immediately. So that's the idea behind that. Public safety, $1 million of this would go to support the rising cost of the current sheriff's contract. And then $500,000 would go toward placing 2 additional private security cars for the commercial and industrial areas around town. They would be solely dedicated. They would be on the overnight shift, so they would go into the industrial and commercial areas and be a presence there. And if they see anything there, they would then report it to the sheriff's department. We're hoping that by doing this, we can cut back on things like illegal dumping, homelessness, burglary to businesses, those types of things. The more eyes and ears the more presence you have, the better. This goes to show you what investing in public safety does. As you can see, we did have a little bit of a spike there in 2023, but by and large, business burglars are down. We don't want to see another spike. We don't want to see it going up again. So, but they're down by 41% over the last 2 years, which is great. You want to keep investing in that. However, if we're hit with another contract increase, which I fully expect next year, to the tune of, say, 5% for the sheriff's department, I don't think we can recover from that. That would be a very, very expensive cost to cover. So again, we would have to cut, or in this case, raise revenue. The third bucket, as you would call it, is environmental and essential service. We would invest $250,000 of the $4 million that would be generated from the parcel tax in this particular category. And these are the 4 areas that we would use to help fund. Some of you may remember about 10 years ago, we had an air quality issue. There were 2 industrial businesses that were found by the AQMD emitting high levels of hexavalent chromium in the air. Well, the AQMD came in and they installed air monitors, and they ran those and paid for those for about 5 years. And then they pulled out. Well, rather than the city just tossing up their hands and saying, okay, well, they're gone, we can't do anything more about it. No, the city then went for a grant. We were able to receive that grant from the Environmental Protection Agency. So that grant lasted for 5 years, but it has since expired. We no longer have that grant. So now that cost to continue the air monitoring has to be covered by the general fund. And as I showed you, the general fund is paying for essential services like public safety. Well, we have to take a portion of that now and pay for those air monitors to make sure that the air is clean or free at least, or have low levels of hexavalent chromium in the air. And we thought that maybe by now the hexavalent chromium problem would be essentially gone, or had be less, but that's not the case, unfortunately. In April, we got spikes at 2 of the air monitors, and AQMD had to come out and do an investigation, and they traced it back to 2 other businesses and industrial uses here in town that were emitting hexavalent chromium. So they did issue them a notice of violation, and they have since repaired that. In fact, one of them was on your agenda tonight. So hopefully with that investment in that business, they will then be able to reduce their hexavalent chromium emissions. But the point is that the general fund is having to pay for this now. So the parcel tax, if approved, would go towards paying for that cost. There's also other things, like I mentioned, graffiti abatement, illegal dumping and cleaning, and organic waste compliance. Now, the fourth and final pillar, if you will, of investment of $250,000 is what I like to call a business reinvestment. We've had past programs, current programs, and future programs that we've had. This is our chance, and we've actually done this over the years. You can see the past programs that we have. But this is our chance to reinvest in our business community. There are many small businesses in Paramount that are struggling. So we want to make sure that we give them the tools they can to thrive here in Paramount. One of those is a Paramount Boost program, which is marketing, security rebates for them to install cameras, alarms, things of that nature. And then years ago, we used to have a facade improvement program where the city would pay 80% of the costs and the business would pay 20% of the cost to improve the front of their building to make it more attractive to their customers. There is a current program where the city gives scholarships to small businesses to join the chamber, because we firmly believe in the chamber. It's an organization that is well rooted in our community, and it does a lot of good for our businesses. Then there are future ideas that we could use, that we could do. For instance, ADA compliance. As you know, there's a lot of small businesses that just don't have the money to install wheelchair ramps or improve the entrance doors because it's just really, really expensive. It's potentially that we could use some of the money to help those small businesses comply with ADA accessibility. Also, we do have that organic waste law that a lot of the businesses have to comply with now. It's not our law, it's the state of California's law, but we're the ones that have to enforce it. So as much as the Planning Commission and the Development Review Board has done over the years to make sure that when the businesses go in, they have a trash enclosure to hide the trash cans and the trash barrels, with this new law, they're now putting the green waste out of the trash enclosure. They just don't have the room in it because they have the big bins in there. So what this would do is provide grants to expand their trash enclosure so they can then insert the green barrels into the trash enclosure. So that's the idea behind that. So how will the measure appear on the ballot? So this is it right here. This is what the council approved last Tuesday. Once again, it's called the City of Paramount Public Safety, Environment, Streets, and Business Improvement Measure. So I'll go ahead and read it. This is going to be on your ballot when you get it in the next number of weeks. So, without taxing residential property owners or renters, shall the ordinance to fund services for Paramount 911 response, public safety, reducing crime, responding to business burglaries, addressing street racing, monitoring, improving water air quality, repairing streets, potholes, supporting businesses by annually levying 8 cents and 13 cents per square foot on industrial commercial properties only, with annual adjustments up to 3%, raising approximately $4 million annually until ended by voters, requiring audits, spending disclosure, local control be adopted. That's a mouthful, but that's how it's going to appear on the ballot. So one of the tools that we've created, I'm almost done here. If you are a business and you want to know what your potential property tax is, you can easily go on to our ParamountCity.gov budget update to estimate your annual parcel tax assessment. It's a very easy tool to use, and I encourage you, if you know anybody out there that is hearing about this, they want to know how much they'll have to pay, please direct them to us, or you could direct them to our website. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have about this.
Great report, Mr. Moreno.
Yep, very good.
Do you have any questions?
No, just that we're on top of it.
Trying to be, thank you.
Really. It's good. You're moving forward, really, doing it now, you know.
Yeah.
Look, you can see the potholes all over the city.
Yeah,
It's
they're
so
big.
true. It's so true.
And we could patch them all we can, but eventually the street has to be
That's true.
resurfaced, so.
That's right.
I do have one.
Yes, Madam Chair.
When we were talking about the businesses and we're not just getting the revenue that we should be getting, is it because our businesses are not being supported as much as we would like them to be in our city?
No, so the industrial areas, just by law, they don't have to pay any sales tax because they're, say, a factory or a wholesaler. So they don't pay any retail tax, like, say, a Walmart or a Home Depot. They don't collect that. And then also with the other service industries like dry cleaners, I mentioned insurance, dental, medical, you see all up and down the boulevards. That's the state's law. They don't pay any sales tax on that. Yes, they do pay property tax, but as you saw from there, they pay very little. So.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood, because I thought we were also talking about other businesses in the city as well as the industrial.
Oh, yeah, for the parcel tax? I'm sorry about that. Yes, the parcel tax, it would apply to all businesses, commercial and industrial. So, with the exception of recreational. Recreational is, for instance, Iceland. They're considered recreational. So, the parcel tax would not apply to them. So.
talking about past programs.
Yes.
It would be so helpful if you brought it back. At one point, the city would help with air purifiers.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
We still have that. It's still active, and actually, we haven't been promoting it too strongly because it's just meeting the demand of our budget. Because of our budget constraints, we have a limited amount of funds, and it's just enough to cover the interest. And I think, Ms. Corrales, I believe we used all of the funds this last year. Is that right?
Yeah, and that's without promoting it. We use all the funds. It's like consecutive every month. So, yeah, it's pretty popular. And we still have it. So if you want to spread the word.
And they said no. So,
Oh.
okay.
Point.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Wonderful to have you.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Oh, yep. And well, council actions, that's really it. That's, John stole the next one. Yeah, so thank you very much.
Oral reports and everything.
That is
right?
all the oral reports, yes.
Okay. What about our planning commission? Do we have any?
No.
Planning commission? At this hour, I don't think anybody wants to say anything.
Okay, John.
Anything from our city attorney?
Just to welcome our new commissioner.
All right.
Hello.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, if there is no further business with the planning commission, the meeting is adjourned.
I had it over here. Thank you. Oh, come on. Okay, the Paramount Development Review Board is called to order. Roll call of members, please.
Board Member Gonzalez, Board Member Moreno, Board Member Timmons,
Yes.
Vice Chair Weisenberger,
Here.
and Chair Esparza.
Here. And we'll have to excuse Mr. Javier Gonzalez.
I move to,
Go ahead. Excuse Javier Gonzalez.
I move to excuse Mr. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Second.
Second.
All right, Board Member Moreno, Board Member Timmons,
Yes.
Vice Chair Weisenberger,
Yes.
and Chair Esparza.
Yes. And now, we have item 1 is the approval of minutes of July 1st. I need a motion.
Weisenberger moves to approve.
I can say.
Okay. Board Member Moreno, Board Member Timmons, Vice Chair Weisenberger,
Yes.
and Chair Esparza.
Yes. Any public comments?
There are no public comments.
New business?
Yes, we have 2 reports. The first is a public hearing, and for this one, it's a complement to what you heard in the Planning Commission portion of the meeting. And this is a request by Enrique Alvarez from Alvarez Design Studios for Tacos El Fogon, installing an outdoor customer seating area with retractable shade at an existing restaurant at 7351 Rosecrans, Unit F, in the C3 General Commercial Zone. So this is basically the design, and I briefly reviewed the design. So we could leave it at that, or if you like, we could bring the presentation back up.
No, I think we should just leave it like that. Yeah? You okay? All righty. So we'll just, on that, I guess we open the public hearing. And you're just in the following order, those in favor and those opposed. There's nobody here but about the applicant. So I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Timmons, so moved.
I second the motion.
All right. Board Member Moreno?
Yes.
Board Member Timmons?
Yes.
Vice Chair Weisenberger?
Yes.
And Chair Sparza.
Yes. And then I'll have a motion in order to approve a request by Enrique Alvarez Designed Studios for Tacos El Fondo to install an outdoor customer seating area with a retractable shade and an existing restaurant at 7351 Rosecrans Avenue, Unit F in the C3 General Commercial Zone. So, I need a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Just a second.
Okay. Board Member Moreno?
Yes.
Board Member Timmons? Vice Chair Weisenberger?
Yes.
Chair Sparza.
Yes. Item 3 is the oral report. Entrada Housing Gold Key Development Update Development Review Application number 25.004.
Yes, and this is a bit of a follow-up. So this is an informational item. You recall last year you approved an application from Gold Key to construct 17 detached homes, 17 single-family homes here on Paramount Boulevard from 1635 through 16683 Paramount Boulevard, the old Methodist Church, the old Buchones Bar and Irish Harp, or whatever it was before, and the auto repair shop in between. So this is just a little update regarding fencing.
Okay.
So let's dive right in. And you approved the design along with the zone change that allowed for housing on Paramount Boulevard, and a general plan amendment, and a parcel map, creating the lots, the subdivision. And here's how it looks, the 17 homes. There were, as I mentioned, there were 3 properties, and that's going to 17, ranging from 2,500 to 2,647 square feet. Kind of a range. Here's an update. This is a photo from this week, looking across the street. It's not all of them, but just wanted to get a kind of straight across the street shot of how it looks. So you'll remember it's more of a contemporary look, and we think it's a good fit for our gateway to Paramount, really, or the gateway to downtown Paramount.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a look at the fencing at the front. So you'll see that it was kind of hard to tell with the perspective, but these are 42 inches high, so 3.5 feet, and that fulfills the requirement. But you'll see there was a this is what you actually looked at last year. There was an actual topper, a little extension. The developer had concerns. He's expressed, he or they have expressed concerns about the proximity to an area of North Long Beach where, as you know, that area of North Long Beach is pretty removed from the core of Long Beach. It's kind of a lost area of Long Beach. So with that, they're not getting the best response times or response in general for some of the safety concerns. So the thought was to have the little extension for a little bit of security, a little bit of privacy on Paramount Boulevard. Just another look on the side. Lots of greenery there. And here's another view, a smooth stucco wall with brick pilasters. And here's a little more detail. And we believe this meets the spirit of the condition of approval that you required, that you included. So with that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. So there's still quite a few that are done, right?
Not too many. Yeah, the majority are well under construction. There's 3 phases. So the first phase is, for all intents, done. They're just working on the inside, little details, and the front, the landscaping. The next phase, it's all framed up, and they're going to be going to the next step, stucco, I believe. And they've already started on the drywall. And the next phase are just close to breaking ground or getting some substantial changes on there.
I know at one time he mentioned that he was held up by Southern California Edison was kind of holding him up. So
It's been slow. It's been difficult, and we've had some assistance from our city manager making some special requests to speed things along, and that's to some success.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and we're hearing that statewide, how slow it is to get the
Oh, yeah,
utilities.
it is. Have you heard his sales pretty good on
No, I think they're just about ready to do the big push, and they have some numbers in mind, but they're just on the verge, right before the sales. So we'll be hearing some good news soon.
Yeah, because the way the market is right now, yeah. So, anyway,
Mr.
go ahead.
Chair, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I know that we were, going back to the extension on the fence, we're only talking about 3.5 feet. Across the front, is there a requirement for 4 feet only?
It's 3.5, I believe, but there is a grade difference. So when you're on the sidewalk, it'll appear a little taller than, because on the inside, it's because of the grade difference. You're actually elevated on the inside of the property.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, they're so close to the main boulevard there. I was wondering if they couldn't have it just a little bit higher for security reasons? Even, because that topping that they're putting on there is very decorative. It looks really nice.
It is nice.
It
It's
is.
that fine balance. So it's a balancing act to not make them too fortress-like.
Right.
And we thought better for downtown to have that interaction. So, the old style, you're in your bedroom or in your living room, you can look out and see what's going on, eyes on the street. Flies in the council chamber.
Flies, no.
Flies and mosquitoes.
Yeah, so it is that
buddy.
balance. So we thought that height makes the most sense, and we came to an agreement with the developer.
Oh, okay, great. Any other question?
Nope,
Nope.
it's gonna look good.
Good, yeah.
It looks really
pretty good. It really does.
Can't wait to go
Makes that, huh?
Can't wait to go inside.
Me too.
See what it looks like inside.
For one of my grandkids, try to get one. Anyway, any comments from board members? Staff?
No comments from staff.
Okay, so the Paramount Development Review Board is adjourned till September 2nd at 6 p.m. in the council chambers here in City Hall. Thank you.
Okay, can I have the?
Huh? And you can't get, what's his name?
Okay, we'll open the Economic Development Board in the absence of a vice chair and chair as Planning Commission
But
chairperson. I will chair this meeting. May we have roll call, please?
Board Member Sparza,
here,
Board Member Moreno,
Here.
Board Member Timmons,
Here.
Board Member Weisenberger,
Here.
and Vice Chair Gonzalez.
And may I have a motion to excuse Commissioner Gonzalez?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Been moved in second. May I have roll call, please?
Board Member Sparza,
Yes.
Board Member Moreno, Board Member Timmons,
Yes.
Board Member Weisenberger.
Yes.
Do we have any public comment?
No, we do not.
Okay. Under reports, we have an oral report from LEDC.
Approval of minutes.
Reported, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm moving too fast. Can we have an approval of minutes for July 1, please?
I'll make a motion to approve minutes of July 1st.
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. May I have roll call, please?
Board Member Sparza,
Yes.
Board Member Moreno,
Abstain.
Board Member Timmons,
Yes.
Board Member Weisenberger.
Yes.
Now, number two, oral report, LAEDC Quarterly Economic Report.
And now we have our management analyst, Tara Reyes, going to get this report.
Awesome. Hi. Good evening, Chair and board members. Tonight, I'll provide a summary of the Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation's latest economic report. Sorry. Could I borrow a different clicker? Sorry about that. Before I go into details of the report, I'd like to give an overview of the Los Angeles County Economic Development Corporation, or LAEDC. The LAEDC is a nonprofit organization dedicated to strengthening the regional economy. Their work focuses on promoting inclusive economic growth through research, business assistance, workforce development, and attracting international investment. Going into the report now. The report describes the U.S. economy currently as in a period of transition rather than crisis. Economic growth remains positive, unemployment is still relatively low, and inflation has fallen significantly from the record highs we experienced in 2022. However, that doesn't necessarily reflect how many households and businesses feel today. The report describes a disconnect between economic performance and public perception. Many families struggle with the cost of housing, groceries, insurance, and healthcare. Businesses are also operating in an environment of uncertainty as they navigate higher operating costs, labor shortages, and changing economic policies. Here in LA County, those national challenges are amplified by our high cost of living, housing affordability issues, labor market changes, increasing energy costs, and our dependence on international trade and investment. One of the largest sources of uncertainty today come from geopolitical events around the world, and one of the biggest concerns is energy. When global energy markets become unstable, fuel prices increase. Those higher costs affect nearly every sector of the economy, from transportation and manufacturing to construction, food production, and shipping. California is particularly vulnerable because the state imports much of its crude oil. The labor market has been surprisingly resilient. Many economists expected widespread layoffs following recent interest rate increases, but that has largely not happened. Instead, we're seeing that what economists describe as a low-fire labor market. Employers are hiring more cautiously, but they're also reluctant to let workers go after experiencing severe labor shortages during and after the pandemic. Job openings have declined, employees are staying with their current employers longer, and competition for available positions has become more selective. At the same time, employers continue to struggle filling highly specialized positions, particularly in healthcare, engineering, information technology, and finance. Artificial intelligence, or AI, is beginning to reshape workforce needs. Rather than replacing large amounts of workers today, AI is changing the skills employers expect. Here in LA County, labor demands vary by industry. For example, construction remains strong due to rebuilding projects and ongoing infrastructure investments, while other sectors continue adjusting to technological changes and budget constraints. Another important contributor to our regional economy is foreign direct investment. International companies operating in Southern California support nearly 230,000 jobs and generate approximately $28.8 billion in annual wages. Consumers continue to drive the U.S. economy. Personal consumer spending accounts for 2/3 of our nation's GDP, making household spending one of the largest contributors to economic growth. Although inflation has slowed considerably over the past few years, prices have not returned to previous levels. Housing, groceries, insurance, healthcare, and transportation all remain significantly more expensive than they were before the pandemic. In LA County, where the cost of living is already among the highest in the nation, these affordability challenges are even more pronounced. Traditional indicators suggest the economy is performing relatively well, yet many consumers continue to feel financially stressed because their purchasing power has not kept pace with higher prices. This slide provides a summary of the key takeaways we just discussed. And then looking ahead, LAEDC expects continued economic growth, but at a slower pace. Rather than experiencing either a recession or rapid expansion, the more likely scenario is steady growth accompanied by ongoing adjustments across industries. Overall, the outlook suggests that Organizations will need to remain flexible and adaptable. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Nope, not me.
Great report, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any other reports regarding economic development?
No, we don't.
Any comments from our city attorney? Okay. None from our commissioners?
Nope.
Okay. Then being no further business, Economic Development Board is now adjourned until September 2nd, 2026.
Amapola took everything out of me.